And here we go. Welcome in to another edition of Bucky and BK. Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2026. And we've got a lot to dive into on a Buck Off edition of the program. Mike Taylor from San Antonio will join us in a bit to recap the San Antonio Spurs first round win over Portland and talk about who he'd rather the Spurs have to play in round two. Shehan Jayaraja from CBS Sports will join us as well. He's a national college football writer. We'll ask him about Brendon Sorsby, the Big 12 getting in bed with private equity, and some of the other crazy headlines around the college football world. We've got some NBA playoffs to dive into, some more sound from Steve Sarkisian's interview on the Craig Way Show to talk about, and another edition of the BBK News and why today's not so bad. We are locked and we are loaded and we are ready to roll on a Thursday. Appreciate y'all spending some of your day with us. How are you today, my man?
I am doing fantastic. Buck on to, if you wanted rain, you got your drizzle for today. You will have your rain tomorrow, and you will get your cooler temperatures that you babies want. You get your little 70s and 50s in the morning for your lows. I'm freezing, you people. I'm freezing. Stop it.
What do you mean, you people?
All you people that are cold, that you want these temperatures in the 70s. Why? Why do you want it in the 70s?
It feels good.
Does it feel good to you?
Yeah.
No, I need it in the high 80s. I don't need the high humidity, but I need the high 80s. But that's okay. You can have it for a while. We know how long it's going to last from this point on. It'll creep up in there, not next week, but the week after. For Mother's Day weekend, we should have some nice weather. But other than that, BK, it's nasty out. It's just a little wet today. But tomorrow it's going to rain. 100% chance of rain tomorrow.
Yeah,
period.
I'm a little worried about the opener between Texas and Mississippi State coming up at the Dish. You've got Texas softball in town this weekend as well, also scheduled to play a game tomorrow. So the good news is it seems like, at least according to you, Saturday and Sunday should be fine. So both teams should be able to get all three games in, but I don't know if there will be games played for the Diamond Sports tomorrow.
No, tomorrow's going to be just a little iffy for sure. Good day to the soldiers at Fort Hood, Texas, the soldiers in the state of Texas, and all those that fight for us each and every day. Thank you so much for what you do. We do appreciate all of you, and we do appreciate your family sharing all of you with all of us. And do be careful out there, please.
Yes, indeed. Well, your first buck off is to the weather. My first buck off is to LIV Golf.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a report yesterday from ESPN that said multiple representatives for LIV Golf players have started to reach out to the PGA Tour to explore what a path back would look like. And then this morning, kind of the bombshell, not too unexpected considering some of the reporting that's been happening over these last few weeks. The fact that, LIV just canceled their upcoming tournament that was supposed to happen in New Orleans in June. But with the PIF pulling funding after the 2026 season, the LIV Golf League has now established a new independent board as it tries to survive. Of course, the PIF has invested more than $5 billion into LIV Golf since its first tournament back in June 2022. They've been reportedly spending $100 million per month this year, and they are backing out. And now LIV is trying to scramble to figure out where they are going to get their money. But a lot of LIV players are like, yeah, we don't want to go down with the ship. We're trying to jump while we still can.
They're trying to get into the PGA for this, still some of the events that are coming up now. Does it sound like?
Oh, I think, yeah, they're trying to figure out the quickest and best way that they can get back in because they're about to be homeless. Now, as of now, I mean, again, LIV Golf did cancel a tournament, but they still have 6 or 7 other tournaments scheduled that, as of right now, are planning to go off.
Where it sounds like they may not make it through those 6. It sounds like they're about to bail, period.
Yeah, and they've got one coming up next weekend. And again, as of right now, it's still scheduled to go. But
it's the one in Washington, right?
It's the one in Washington, yeah, at the Trump National.
Yeah.
But I just, LIV Golf said the league is focusing on securing long-term financial partners to support its transition. So they're trying to stick around. I think they're more confident, at least they're saying that they're more confident than the actual players who comprise the LIV Golf League.
Like I said, I hope those guys got those checks and cashed those checks. The 5 years or 4 years they've been around, I hope they cashed them in year one when they had the money.
Yeah, well, they were still investing this year. Again, the Saudi PIF fund was still putting in $100 million a month this year. They just decided we're done, like now.
Yeah.
But I would think guys have still been getting paid what they were promised to get paid. It's just, okay, once this season comes to an end, or hell, maybe starting next month, the well is going to run dry.
Yeah, the Saudi POS fund is now running out, huh?
Is that what you're calling it?
Yes.
The POS fund.
It's running out of cash. I mean, they spent so much money so quick, and those
Yeah.
salaries those guys were getting were ridiculous. And now I'm almost to the point of saying, no, the PGA ought to make them pay some big bucks. They got it. It's not like they don't have it. The
Right.
players have it.
Yeah, and we've seen obviously Brooks Koepka and Patrick Reed make their way back from LIV to the PGA, and those guys were punished relatively harshly. They weren't fined or anything, but they're just not allowed to make a lot of the money that they would have made if they were regular PGA Tour golfers. So I would assume the return to the PGA Tour plan would look pretty similar for the other guys, but also, I mean, the PGA's got to decide if they even want. I mean, obviously the John Rahms, the Bryson DeChambeaus of the world, the PGA is going to find a way to let those guys back in, but maybe some of those fringe guys, I don't know if they're going to be invited back.
Yeah, they'll make it tough on Phil because he was the one who started gathering all those dudes, but he's at the end of his career anyway. I mean, what do they want him for the PGA Tour? But he's been a past winner in majors. It's just you want to keep some of that history still alive if you can. So maybe they won't hit him as hard, but they may hit him pretty hard.
Yeah, maybe.
And he at this time of his career, why would he want to? I mean, seriously, why would he want to be a part of the PGA anyway? You're talking about a guy who can just ride off into the sunset, unless he and Sorsby have been getting together with the same cousin and losing a lot of money.
Yeah, I think you just answered your own question right there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Lefty is still currently active in gambling, but we've known for years he was a degenerate gambler. So that guy needs some money to pay off his debts.
That could be.
He's got to continue golfing to make that money.
Yeah, but he's an old dude. He ain't winning some of those events, but he's a former, he can show up to the events that he's won before. And I mean, that's going to help the crowd out. But PGA crowds they're fine. They're doing just fine. They have been doing just fine. Even when LIV jumped at them and they thought they were going to change stuff, they were doing just fine. The purses picked up, for the events. I mean, it's ridiculous money that they get. Like you said last week, you win second place at a place like Harbortown, you're making $2 million.
Right. Oh, that's, there are some good things. I know people dunk on LIV and it's short-lived. Yes, pun intended. But it did totally increase the amount of money these golfers are making, right?
Yes.
Like that was, a lot of the players who did stick around on the PGA Tour were like, okay, yeah, we're going to stick around because we like this tour. We don't want to, get in bed with that. But also, we're better than those guys. Like, we would like to be paid a little closer to what those guys are making here.
Sure.
We are on the biggest and most popular tour in the world. And hey, PGA, we know you're making a bunch of money from these TV deals with CBS and NBC every single weekend. Like, we need a bigger piece of the pie. And because of LIV, the purses, like you said, have increased pretty exponentially over the last few seasons on the tour, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I would say that they've increased the salaries of golfers, plus the awareness and sponsors now, and especially if this thing just folds up and comes back and it's only the PGA Tour, the DP Tour, some of the other smaller tours. But this is, people are still going to want to have their product on TV.
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
they want John Rahm, but they want John Rahm back.
Of
And
course.
DeChambeau, they want that guys back.
Now, there are only a few players when they had the returning member program that they offered that Brooks Koepka accepted with all of the penalties that came along with it. There were only a few other eligible players for like that offer from the PGA Tour, and Bryson, John Rahm, and Cameron Smith were the other three, and they decided not to take part. So again, they'll come up with something, but I don't know exactly what it's going to look like and when it all starts and if these guys are going to be allowed to return this year. I mean, Patrick Reed is not on the PGA Tour yet. Like, he's eligible to return on August 25th of this year. So it wasn't just as soon as he said he's leaving LIV, boom, the next weekend he's back playing somewhere in the States. There's a little bit of a transition period for him that perhaps would exist with some of these other guys too, to where I don't know if they could return this year just because they want to. They might have to wait until 2027 to.
Yeah, I don't want to call it the kiss of death for any golfer because, once again, those guys made a lot of money on the initial hit. But like Cameron Smith, that dude hasn't won anything. Even on the LIV Tour, he hasn't been that great. I mean, is this game he just went to that in the competition? He just started to practice less or whatever and just took that money, put it in the bank? Because if he comes back to the PGA Tour, remember that guy every week was starting to be up there. And, before Scotty became number one, Cameron Smith had it going on, you know?
He has fallen off a little bit. I don't know. I mean, look, there are plenty of PGA Tour golfers who fall off. Like, sometimes it just happens. So I don't know if it's that, but yeah, his game has not been the same over the last couple.
Yeah, we're saying that about Xander Schauffele now. All of a sudden, that guy hasn't won in like 2 years. Now he still comes in. Hey, he still comes in third and second and picks up a check for $1 million.
Right. Well, yeah, Cam Smith has still been cashing guaranteed checks for quite some time, so he's not hurting too bad. And obviously, that was the biggest appeal for all of these guys who decided to take that Saudi money. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how this unravels. We'll see if LIV Golf can make it. We'll see if enough players stick around for them to make it. I mean, they've been losing a ton of money, so I don't know how many people are going to be super excited to invest in what they've got. But that's clearly what they're trying right now, is to find a way to get enough people to spend their money to keep this thing alive. And I don't feel great about their chances.
No, I don't either.
So there you go. There's your first buck off.
Plus, they didn't sign on with us anyway, so.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm dunking on the LIV Tour now.
Yeah.
I mean, for years, I was maybe their biggest supporter. But I was just trying to suck up to the Saudis to get some of their money. I wanted that PIF fund.
POS fund, you wanted it, huh?
Of course. I'm not above it. I don't have morals. I don't have values. If anyone wants to pay to sponsor the show, come on, man. We need that.
Yeah, I can imagine them going to people like Good Golf that's just coming onto the scene and saying, hey, listen, we can make this work for you. And those guys going, oh, no, you can't.
No, a company like that's not big enough. They're looking for like private equity money. They're not looking for golfing brands for that. They need a lot more, considering they were getting like billions of dollars. They're not looking for some like come up. And I know Good Golf is sponsoring the event here in Austin later this year, which like there's something, they've got some money, but they need like here.
They need Shell. They need Exxon money.
Yeah, exactly. That oil money, which is what they were getting.
Yes.
They got to get some of that. So crazy story right there. And again, it just feels like it's all coming to a head here at the end of April. Also, a buck off to you, sir.
Me?
You lost the people some money last night.
I did, even with my 3-3. Oh, I must have had a low rent in one of those wins, obviously.
Yeah, you had 6 gold star locks for the people on yesterday's show. You did go 3-3, but you had 5 100,000 unit plays. You went 2-3 on those. You had 150,000 unit play, and you got that right. But if my math is mathing correctly, you did lose 50,000 units.
Sorry about that, folks. Hey, we're just starting out. We're getting into the second series of all this, so let's just behave. Everything will be just fine. Sorry about that, woolly mammoth. You're done. You're no good.
Well, that was a crazy game last night. I mean, you got lucky on a few of these bets.
How can you say luck? This is a guy who knows what he's doing. I've known this for years for the people. How can you say luck?
Yeah, I mean, you had an overtime win and you had a double overtime win in the NHL last night. It's, a certain puck bounce the other way.
Yesterday were the Rangers. They got lucky. That's called luck.
That was a shutout of your Yankees from the Texas Rangers.
That's
Ain't
just
nothing lucky
luck.
about that one, sir. But I will say this in your defense, you still are up for the people, 75,000 units in these post seasons, and we'll see what you have tonight.
I'll tell you who's slapping me in the face are the Flyers. That's who's teaching me a lesson.
Well, you had the Flyers last night. That was one of your picks.
I did have them. I thought I had the Penguins to finish this out. I got smart and took the Flyers, did I?
Yeah, they won in overtime, 1-0 over Pittsburgh to advance to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So congrats to your Philadelphia Flyers. I do believe that is your favorite NHL franchise.
Yes.
So congrats to you on that. I do want to talk about the Rockets a little bit, though, because I'll tell you what, the first round of these NBA playoffs getting pretty good, right? I mean, some of the series, look, Oklahoma City swept Phoenix.
Sure.
San Antonio made pretty quick work of Portland. Like, not every series has drama. That's how it typically goes.
No drama for OKC.
Right, yeah, they did what they needed to do. But, man, I mean, Houston was down 3-0 to the Lakers. That's now a 3-2 series going back to H-Town. Detroit won last night. You know, they were down 3-1 to Orlando. They're still the 1 seed in the East. They could maybe come back from 3-1 down. Your 76ers are at home tonight. You know, they were down 3-1 to Boston. They're a win away from forcing a Game 7. Denver was down 3-1 to Minnesota. They're a win away from forcing a Game 7. So we've got some pretty nice theater, a more wild first round than we typically get in the NBA playoffs, I think.
I don't know how the 76ers are doing it, but my goodness.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep it going tonight. But how about the Rockets last night, Buck?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Austin Reeves returned for the Lakers. Obviously, he and Luka Doncic had been out for the first 4 games. Still no Luka for LA, but the Lakers were up 3-1. They were at home. LeBron has been ridiculously good in home playoff closeout games in his career. The Lakers were favored for the first time in the series. You had 100,000 units on them, and yet the Rockets find a way to win 99-93 the final. They led by 13 midway through the fourth quarter. The Lakers went on an 11-1 run to cut the gap to 3, and then Reed Shepherd, who's been criticized a lot throughout this series and made a couple of bonehead mistakes that cost the Rockets at the end of Game 3, made 2 huge plays, hit a bucket to push the lead to 5, then had a steal of LeBron and a transition dunk to make it 7. Both of those happened after LeBron ran into him, seemingly went out of his way to try to rough up the young point guard for the Rockets. And, it didn't work for LeBron. He responded, and the Rockets responded. And I don't know, Buck, all of a sudden, Houston, they're back in this thing.
All of a sudden, they don't need Kevin Durant.
Yeah, KD has already been ruled out for tomorrow night's Game 6 at Toyota Center. Still dealing with that bone bruise on his ankle. But, man, they obviously have won the last 2 games. They should have won Game 3. Remember, they were up by 6 with 30 seconds left and totally urinated down their legs and ended up losing in overtime. But, they have been the better team in 3 of the 5 games in this series, and it's the 3 most recent games in this series.
And they got some young legs, too.
They do, and it's never happened before, right? I mean, the Rockets are the 16th team in the NBA to force a Game 6 after trailing 3-0. But again, no team has ever recovered from down 3-0 to win a series. The Rockets still clearly have some work to do, but they're showing a lot more fight than I think we anticipated after going down Love 3.
And so the game is tomorrow?
Tomorrow night in Houston. Here's a little bit of sound from Rockets head coach Ime Udoka. Remember, after Game 3, called them out, saying
he went big shaver on them.
Right, yeah, it's like they're playing dumb and they need to mature, and it was pretty harsh words from Ime Udoka. Well, his team has responded. Here's the Rockets coach talking about that response.
Big time performances by everybody, across the board, and you're starting this really young lineup, and they are somewhat battle tested now. Reed going through it for the first time, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't grow up to that extent because of age or whatever. It's just show growth in certain moments and progress in certain moments, and obviously in the game situation where you turn the ball over twice and foul the shooter and some of those things, you want to show growth, and I think we did that tonight when they trapped late. Handled it with poise, got the shots we wanted, and made our free throws.
Yeah, they're making shots now.
Yeah, and they're defending really well. I mean, I think that's the big key, right? To hold the Lakers to 93 points, again, with Austin Reeves back in the lineup on the road in Los Angeles. And the Rockets have really upped their defensive intensity. And obviously making shots helps too. They're definitely doing that. But they have ratcheted things up on the other end of the floor. And I don't know, man. I mean, like Ime Udoka might be coaching for his job in Houston. And if the Rockets lose this series, they could totally break up the team. I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Durant, but it's not just KD. I mean, if they lost this series in the first round, then they could have said, you know what, we're starting over and we're trading you and signing you. And they're not going down without a fight. So we will see what happens tomorrow night. And, the Pistons avoided elimination, and the Cleveland Cavaliers taking a 3-2 lead over Toronto. Those were your other two games in the association.
Cleveland is getting pushed by Toronto. Man.
Yeah, that's a 4-5 series in the East, so it should be pretty evenly matched, and I think it has been. I mean, Toronto had a lead for most of the game last night in Cleveland, but the Cavs, Dennis Schroeder having a big game out of nowhere. Didn't realize that guy was still in the league.
Dennis Schroeder looks like he's 39, 40 years old already.
He might be 39 or 40 years old.
That's what I'm saying. He's been around for a while.
Well, we're rounding way up. Now I feel bad. He's 32. He's my age.
Yeah, he's looking like he's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Looking like he's 60 years old.
He's been around for a long time, which I guess is a good thing. He's, always had that interesting little splash of color in his hair. Apparently doesn't have right now. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with him. But there's your action from last night. Now, while we're talking about these playoffs, we can hit it early in the show.
You got it.
What are your gold star locks for the people tonight? You've got 3 games in the association, 3 teams with chances to advance to the next round.
100,000 units on the Sixers.
You don't even need the line.
I don't even need the line. Yeah, they'll cover the line. They're probably +6.
5.5.
Okay, I'll take the Sixers.
Even though the Sixers have not won a home game in this series?
All right.
Doesn't bother you?
No. Are the Knicks playing tonight? Knicks
are playing tonight.
Where are they at? They're in Atlanta, though, right?
They're on the road in Atlanta. The Knicks trying to close out the Hawks. New York is a 2.5-point road favorite. It's a close one.
I'll take the Knicks for 100,000 units.
Okay. And then last but not least, you got road favorites galore tonight. Denver at Minnesota. The Nuggets, 5.5-point favorites against the short-handed Wolves.
Yeah, I'll take Denver for 100,000 units on that against the short-handed Wolves. Yes, for sure.
Okay. And then 2 games in the NHL tonight. You care to – you've got my Dallas
I'll go ahead and take the Stars and give them 50,000 unit play.
Even on the road?
Yes.
God, they looked lost in their last game. And then Oilers Ducks, Game 6 in Anaheim. Edmonton won Game 5 to stave off elimination. Anaheim at home trying to close this one out.
I'm going to go with the Ducks for a 50,000 unit play.
Ooh, anti-Oilers.
Yeah, anti-Oilers just for tonight.
Okay. Well, there you go.
There you go, Duckies. Come on, Duckies.
5 playoff games, the Mighty Ducks. 5 playoff games. The Bucks got units on all 5. Still up 75,000 units. We'll see how.
I should put them. I'll put the folks up at least 175 tonight.
Feeling good.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. All right, we'll take your thoughts. The Dakota text line, 512-222-9328. In a moment, we've got some sound from Steve Sarkisian. We'll let you hear what the coach had to say on his interview with Craig Way earlier this week. We also have a couple of great guests joining us later in the show. But before we go anywhere else, how about our first round of sponsor shout-outs?
Our good friends over at Sue Patrick would love for you to come in. Mother's and Father's Day coming up. So you youngsters go in there and make sure Dad gets one of those great golfing polos that they have. They've got some great shirts. They got great apparel there for mother and father and grandma. You might as well get some for grandma too. They've got all the ladies gear is in BK for the spring and summer. The summer fashions are in there. But for the guys, it is about the golfing shirts. It's about the hats. They've got golf equipment in there. They've got the golf balls. They've got all your tees. Everything Longhorn is in there for sure. So go on to Sue Patrick at 5222 Burnett Road, wide variety of men's and women's clothing, all sizes. They offer free shipping on online orders of $59 or more, free curbside pickup, of course, and plenty of parking space at 5222 Burnett Road. We'll be in there before Mother's Day. Hey, Mom, we'll make sure you get something very special. someone that you love and someone that loves you. They'll get you some nice things from Sue Patrick, but right before it all begins next week. As a matter of fact, it's the Jellycat headquarters, of course. For more information, 50 years of service in Central Texas, go to SuePatrick.com.
Yes, indeed. You want to give mom the perfect gift for Mother's Day. How about some Altstadt beer?
There you go.
Yeah, she needs some after dealing with you.
And don't get her a case.
Get her a case, maybe a couple of cases of Altstadt.
There you go.
She deserves it. And you know what? The beauty of giving Altstadt as a gift, you're going to be like, well, I want one too. And then mom's going to be like, you know what? You can have one of my beers, kid.
Just one.
Thanks for the gift. Yeah, I'm going to need the other 5 for the other 14. But I'll take them. Look, Altstadt beer, it's my choice. It should be yours as well. The best beer all throughout the great state of Texas. Brewed locally in Fredericksburg. So every time you buy Altstadt beer, you're supporting a Central Texas business. They've got a bunch of different brews too. Something for every mother and every beer drinker out there. The lager, the Kolsch, the Hefeweizen, the summer seasonal peach radler. It's fantastic. They've got a great light beer as well. I'm telling you, it's all great. It's award-winning beer from an award-winning brewery. Get you some the next time you're at any liquor store, any grocery store, your favorite bars, your favorite restaurants, all throughout the Lone Star State. You go through a lot in this life. Reward yourself and reward your taste buds with the greatness that is Altstadt beer. No impurities, no regrets.
Yeah, for all you weekend warriors out there that are starting to struggle with shoulder pain, ankle pain, knee pain, and you're wondering what you need to do, well, going to our friends over at Texas Orthopedics. Their surgeons believe in comprehensive surgical and non-surgical, and state the non-surgical part, Buck, for sure. It's not always about having to get that thing fixed up that way and having to replace stuff. They'll talk to you about ways of healing yourself without having surgery. But if you do need surgery, if you do need a knee replacement, they're the folks that you want to go to. Spinal care, sports medicine, trauma care, joint replacement. Dr. Christopher Danny and Dr. Christopher Stockton are there. They're dedicated orthopedic surgeons, and their goal is to get you right back into good health and the great quality of life that you deserve. Texas Orthopedics is the largest independent orthopedic practice in Central Texas. For more information, please go to txortho.com. And once again, it's not always about the surgery. It's about the non-surgical deals that they do there, finding ways to make you feel good without having to have surgery.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing right there.
That's right, for sure.
And McCall Custom Homes is never a bad thing. You reach out to them, you're going to upgrade your home, kitchen remodels, bathroom renovations. You want to add some new life to your outdoor space. Doesn't matter. They can do all of those things and then some. They are the very best at what they do. It's a father-son team with more than 4 decades of experience. Not 4 years, 4 decades of experience. And all of that experience is here in Central Texas. So they know what it takes to turn an Austin area home into something truly, truly special. Free estimates to listeners of this show. They're A+ rated by the BBB. All you have to do is go to their website, McCallCustomHomesATX.com, or you can call or text Mike McCall directly. Great dude, big Longhorn fan, listens pretty much every day. He's probably listening right now. He's probably about to text us on the Coda text line, 512-633-9580. That is his number. It's McCall Custom Homes. We build value into your home. And yep, Mike McCall texted, yes, sir. T-minus 2 weeks, boys, until Mullet Open Day.
Yes, indeed. He's excited. His group is excited for the Mullet Open. They are getting absolutely fired up. And once again, one of our favorites, Tom McKay, Audiovisual Consultation, is giving away, how about this? Not one 85-inch screen TV, but 2.
Woo.
2 85-inchers. Dude, that's incredible.
Hey, I've been nice to you over the last year, Buck. Papa could use a new TV.
Oh, no, we don't do it. This is a legitimate raffle. We don't play games, especially when it comes to that part of the raffle.
Oh, we don't play games, he says.
No, we can't do that.
Even in year 25, it's all real.
We can't do that. We can't play games. And I will have so many people coming up and saying, it would be nice. Now you can get me that big 85-inch screen TV, and hey, it will be legit. Since you're giving away 2, make sure my name is in there.
Yeah.
There will be dudes there that have been there for 25 years. It's always great to see him, but I always want to thank Tom McKay. He's been absolutely fantastic since I met him about doing this for the Mullet Open. As a matter of fact, not only does he do that for the Mullet Open, he goes over to the Berg Center for Kids and puts in TVs over at the Berg Center for their offices too. He does it all year round for the folks at the Berg Center.
Yeah, I mean, Tom's the man. Like, we talk about Tom all the time. He's a great friend of ours, and he's a pretty out there guy. And
Yes,
he'll speak his mind, and he's come on this show, and he's come on every show, and he is an outspoken dude. But he's also one of the most charitable dudes there is in Central
absolutely.
Texas. And yeah, obviously pretty cool of him to donate 2 85-inch screens for the 25th annual Mullet Open coming up in a few weeks. And hey, even if you're not playing in the tournament, and no, you can't sign up. Signups have been closed for a long time.
Yeah, like 2 hours after it opened up.
You can come by at
Yes.
Lost Pines Resort 2 weeks from tomorrow, Friday, May 15th, and you could buy some raffle tickets and hang out for a little bit. And the money goes to a good cause, and you've got a chance to take home a nice TV from AV Consultations, right, Buck?
Absolutely. Come enjoy some of that Louis Miller barbecue. Wayne Miller's going to do the cooking. He's excited about being there.
Actually, no, don't do that because I get to take home
'cause
what's left.
Yeah, BK likes to get what's left over.
Yeah, and you're
Don't mess
costing me
with
some
that.
food if you eat it.
Yeah, don't mess with his food.
AV Consultations, 512-255-8678, avconsultations.com. Look, if you don't win, still call them. They'll still hook you up with a great TV setup in the comfort of your own home. All right, let's let you hear a little more sound from Steve Sarkeesian, who was a guest on the Craig Way Show earlier this week. And kudos to Craig, who always does a great job with everything. But Craig asked Steve Sarkisian about the Brendon Sorsby situation, which has obviously been the biggest story in college football this week. If you don't know, the Texas Tech transfer quarterback is being investigated by the NCAA for allegations of sports betting. He also checked into a treatment facility because of the sports betting, and it feels like he's not going to be eligible to play for the Red Raiders in 2026. There's your quick refresher. Craig Way asked Steve Sarkisian, not specifically about the Brendon Sorsby situation, but hey, in light of that, are you concerned about that potentially happening with your players? Is gambling an issue that you have to talk about in your locker room? Here was Coach Sark's response to that.
Craig, do you remember, I want to say, might have been last year, some point mid-season or even right before the season when the NCAA was going to legalize gambling?
Yeah.
And I said in the press conference, so does this sound like a good idea? We're paying the players. We just legalized paying the players, right? And we have revenue share and publicity rights and all these things. We went from NIL to that. So do we think it's a good idea to now let them now gamble the money away? Is that what's healthy? Is that why we decided to say, hey, let's have revenue sharing and pay the players? And then let's legalize gambling so we can give the money back to people that didn't do anything to deserve it. Like, that was my stance then. And so is it a concern of mine? Of course it is. It's a major concern of mine and that's one snippet of concerns when you start talking about some of the money that these guys are making and our job to educate them and what to do with that money, especially when they have the free time like they have here coming up in the month of May. It's a major concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, you know. In one way, you want to ask your players, you know, they are the product. They're getting paid for being the product right now. But then you throw in gambling, and then you're asking them to be adults, just like adults are outside of the world of football. You know, there are a lot of people that have regular jobs that gamble that shouldn't be gambling. You know, that aren't big sports stars and everything. They have to watch it. They have to be adults and doing it that way. So then you've got to now teach your players, now that you're giving them money and saying, listen, you can't. There are places where you can. There are players, and a guy who's 21 years old is going to say, wait a minute, why can't I gamble? I got NIL money. Why can't I gamble? I'm an adult, right? I make money. Why shouldn't I be able to gamble? You know, Joe Blow over there gets to go to casinos and do his gambling. Why you want to treat me like an adult? Let me be an adult. And then it's such a balance that's just so tough. You know, you give them money, then you stick and say, okay, now you can go gamble. I mean, it's like crazy out there right now for those young guys, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's on one hand, it's ridiculous, right, for what you said, but also you watch a college football game and it feels like every commercial break there's an ad for DraftKings or FanDuel or Kalshi or something like that. And like they are promoting betting on sports, and these college football TV networks are in bed with all of these sports books, right? Because they're making money. On the other hand, think about it. If you're an employee of a certain company, and I know these guys aren't technically employees, but they kind of are with the NCAA, like sometimes there are rules, right? Like
Sure.
You work for one company, you might be allowed to do this. You work for another company, you might not be allowed to do this. And there is no gray area here. There's so much gray area with so many things in college sports where we just don't know, and you can tiptoe the line and maybe you'll get away with it if you try it. There is no gray area, and there really never has been a gray area when it comes to betting on sports if you are a college athlete. So I agree. Like it does feel a little ridiculous that they can't, but on the other hand, it's been so black and white forever that you can't, that it's hard for me to have too much sympathy for the guys who get caught doing it because you know that you can't do it.
Yeah, especially on your sport, a sport that you play and your team, that should never be allowed.
Yeah.
Ever.
Of course, it's a major concern. Like, I remember when I was in college, my boys, we were betting on sports all the time. And technically, it's illegal in the state of Texas. But there's always workarounds.
Yeah.
Right. Like, there's always workarounds here. So, Brendon Sorsby's not the only college football player gambling on sports right now. And he's probably not the only one doing it under his own name right now. But
there's a couple of dummies that got smart. This just smarten them up right now. But there are a lot of those guys that have their name on that stuff. If you went looking, if your college went looking for you, they could find it. They don't want to find it.
Well, yeah, it's not like Texas Tech did the investigating here.
No.
The NCAA started investigating. They got tipped off by somebody. I know Tech fans.
Somebody in Cincinnati tipped them off.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know Tech fans think the way you think, that it was someone in Cincinnati who was ticked that he transferred to Texas Tech who tipped off the NCAA. So, yeah, that's happened. I mean, you say they're grown adults. They're college kids. Like, if you want to say, okay, when you're 18, you're an adult, or when you're 21, you're an adult, whatever, they're college kids. Like, I wasn't a grown adult when I was in college.
No, and not many college kids out there have the kind of money that they have.
Right.
Now,
Well, these guys are friends with non-football players too. So it's
and by the way, they gamble.
Of course, they're hanging out with their boys, and their boys are talking about gambling. I mean, it's around them. These guys watch SportsCenter. These guys watch other college football games. They watch the NFL. They see all of these ads. I mean, it's just constantly in their face. Bet, 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 bet. And
they see people talking about. They're talking about lines on the air. They hear us talk. They hear people talking about lines of games all the time, and they're like, "Wait a minute! I played this game. I should be able to. I can make some money off of this. I know which team is doing what. But your coaches ask them. You have to grow up. You can't do that. It's not a smart move." But then some kid will tell you, "Well, I know such and such just made $50,000, coach. He ain't that smart a kid, but look what he just did." They're, like you said, that's the kid part in you, but you want them to be adults, and the right thing to do for them is put that money away. So when you aren't one of the 1% that make it into the NFL, you do have something stacked away to start a career in whatever the career is.
Right. It's just following the rules. Again, there's not a lot of gray. Yeah, there's not a lot of gray area here where it's like you could bet. And you heard Sark at the beginning of that cut, and he's right. Like late last year, the NCAA considered relaxing its gambling rules to allow student athletes, that word still exists, that's funny, and staffers to bet on pro sports. It was never going to be college sports, but it was going to be like, maybe we should let these guys bet on pro sports, right? Because everybody else bets, and they are technically adults, and it's legal in a lot of these states, so maybe we should relax and ease up. And then they're like, no, that's a horrible idea. We shouldn't do it. And you heard Steve Sarkisian agree with that. Like, yeah, we should not go down that slippery slope and start to open up Pandora's box. And then you're asking, okay, what's a professional sport? What's not a professional sport? So it's clear as day. You can't do it.
When you couldn't bet on the NCAA basketball tournament and the brackets, and they didn't want any coaches everybody had their little office pools and stuff like that. Right. It was frowned upon. Whether you were the baseball coach to do it, or the basketball coach, or the football coach, and you want to have a bracket, NCAA was frowning upon everybody. When that stuff first came out about this such and such had a bracket, people started talking about it. It made everybody nervous. And now you're actually talking about just flat out gambling on it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the thing that sports leagues care about more than anything else, this isn't just college sports. This is the NFL and Major League Baseball and the NBA, any league around the world. They care about the integrity of
Yes.
the league. They don't want the common fan to think that the league is rigged,
Right.
that players or coaches or referees are fixing games because they're betting on these games. So I understand it, even though it's total hypocrisy because of how much money these leagues are now making from all of these gambling partners. I understand their vision and why they are so strict about prohibiting these things. So does it kind of screw the players? Yeah, it does. But they're making a lot of money, especially now. College players, they're making a lot of money. Brendon Sorsby was supposed to make $5 million at Texas Tech this year. Like, all right, you get some perks for being a student athlete or a professional athlete that the common man or woman does not get. But you also have to follow rules that maybe the common man or woman does not have to follow.
That's true. Those rules aren't for them. That's for you.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yes.
So there was Steve Sarkisian's thoughts on that. By the way, a report came out yesterday on Brendon Sorsby, since we're talking about this, before we get to more Sark sound. Sources who have reviewed some of his betting data said that dating back to 2022, Brendon Sorsby placed more than 10,000 wagers and at one point averaged 20 bets per day.
Yeah, dude, that's a problem. That's not recreational betting. That's a problem.
It makes sense that he maybe checked into.
Yes. Well, I know. I mean, I get why he checked in. I kind of get why he checked in. He wants to try to get that $5 million to play that final year, and he wants to fall on the sword and have somebody have some sympathy for him. Oh, he checked himself in. Yeah, right. We know what happened. You checked yourself in because you got caught.
I agree. I mean, we know why he's doing it, and you're dead on. But like, he might need it.
Yes.
Whether it was his choice or not, like that's.
Oh, there's no doubt that he did it. I mean, if you're getting ready to get $5 million and you're a college athlete, student athlete, or just student, and you can make $5 million by doing whatever you do for a year, if you do that and jeopardize that, that's called a problem.
Yeah. And
that's a problem. That's not rational. That's really irrational to put $5 million and your life savings in jeopardy because you want to bet on strikes and balls. I mean, seriously?
Right. Yeah. Placed more than 10,000 wagers. And again, at one point averaged 20 bets per day. He placed bets across multiple states using a range of gambling apps.
Yeah. So, he's not putting himself in there in that rehab just because he needs to be rehabbed. He's putting that in there because he got caught.
He did get caught.
If he wouldn't have got caught, he would have been going through his final year, probably still placing bets and having $5 million and still making bets, which sounds absurd,
Texas Tech in the Big 12, he's probably betting on his own team next year. He knows how bad that conference is.
Of course.
Yeah. So there was Sark's thoughts on that. Now bringing things back to the Texas Longhorns. More sound from Steve Sarkeesian's appearance on the Craig Way Show earlier this week. How about the health of the team right now? Obviously, injuries and guys recovering from off-season surgeries or big storylines throughout the spring. Unfortunately, Craig asked Sark for an injury update and how things are going here as we're about to flip the calendar over to May.
The overall health has been great. We haven't had one setback with a player. And that's always a concern when you've got players coming off of end-of-season surgeries or even, a couple of guys that did get nicked up in spring practice. And so that's the first part that's a positive. Everybody is on par, on course with where they should be from a recovery standpoint, and that's been terrific. And think about some of the injuries we've had. The reality of it is if you have a shoulder surgery, it's going to take you 4 months before you can get actually back to doing the work that's needed. Now, these guys, we got them back involved in spring, but it was no contact. So now they get May, June, and July to really strengthen so that when fall camp rolls around, now they'll be full contact, ready to go. I'd say on Arch just in general, because I've heard some of the same sentiment you've heard. People are overreacting way too much to this, okay? The guy had a foot issue that we had to get fixed that we didn't want to do last year, obviously right before the season or during the season, so we waited till after the season. He could have been back in spring practice probably in week 3. But again, he's in year 4 in our system. So him throwing 7-on-7, him throwing routes on air, that giving KJ and Dia and MJ more opportunities to get accustomed to playing systematically for us. But rest assured, Arch Manning is fine. He looks great.
Yeah, I mean, people want to know about there's no reason to put a guy like Arch Manning there. He's been around long enough. You don't want him, the progress that he's already made with his foot. Why would you do that in the spring? Then you'd be called a crazy, out-of-control coach if you did that and somebody stepped on his foot the wrong way and he's in some 11-on-11 deal trying to escape, somebody that's beat some tackle who's just trying to be the second or third string guy, and Arch twists that foot. Now you're pissed at yourself, So why do it? The guy would be ready to go if there were a game this week, but there's no game this week or next week or the week after. So let those guys continue to progress. Your tackle with the bad shoulder, why get him? There's no reason for him to have contact. You know what he's like during contact. You know how tough he is. You've seen him play for a year, 2 years. Why would you even risk that? It's just the progress. You don't have any setbacks on things that you don't have to worry about until the fall,
Yeah, it sounds like mission accomplished, right?
Yes.
Steve Sarkisian clearly went into the spring with a cautious mindset, right? We're not going to rush anybody back.
Right.
We're not going to put anybody on the field who doesn't need to be on the field. We're going to make sure guys get the proper amount of recovery time to ensure that they are good to go for the summer, but more importantly for fall camp and the start of the season. And him saying that there were no setbacks and everyone's progressing exactly the way that they had hoped. Mission accomplished. Like
spring is for teaching. Fall is for getting ready to play.
Right. And a lot of these guys, I mean, the big name players, look, would it help if they were out there in the spring? Of course. But do they need it? No. And you heard Sark talk about it. I mean, he kind of mentioned the quarterbacks with KJ Lacey and Diabell and MJ Morris, but it's not just the quarterback position, right? I mean, because Trevor Goosby's banged up on the offensive line, and couple that with the fact that Lawrence Seymour is, not with the team just yet, a bunch of young offensive linemen got to work, right? Anthony Smith, another guy dealing with a shoulder ailment, okay? A bunch of young linebackers got some extra work, right? The wide receivers, Ryan Wingo and Emmett Mosley being limited in the spring. Okay, you got a guy like Jermaine Bishop get extra opportunities. So, yeah, the young guys, the guys who are kind of new to the program, they got the teaching, they got the development, they got the extra reps to where I think it's only going to help Texas short-term and long-term, the fact that those guys were able to get a little bit more opportunity during spring practice.
Yeah, you just want to make sure everybody's healthy when you get ready to come into the fall, especially ones that are just nicked up. You don't have a bunch of major knees or anything like that you wanted to see what guys are like. You don't have any running backs with knee problems that I got to see him. His knee was supposed to be healthy by the spring. Well, why would you do that? Wait till the fall. Give him even more time.
Look, selfishly, like during the fan day, I would have loved to have seen Arch Manning a little bit more. And I would have loved to have seen Ryan Wingo and Anthony Smith and, insert big name star player.
Yeah, the guy that hurt was Diabell because that was his opportunity to do an awful lot. Yeah. And
yeah, of course. That's one of the young guys. But for the star, like people like watching the best players on the team, but obviously people care way more about what happens in the fall. So, like, I don't think too many Longhorn fans are upset that, we didn't get to see Arch Manning do a bunch in the scrimmage portion of that open practice. It's like, all right, well, we're going to get to see him. Now we know we are going to get to see him in the fall with zero setbacks or any repercussions from that offseason surgery that he had.
Yeah, I would agree. That's just smart coaching. That's just regular coaching. You don't do that. You don't put your stars in a spot to get themselves hurt in the springtime.
Yeah, so that's great to hear. And I know Steve Sarkeesian's like, everyone's really blowing up this Arch Manning thing. It's like, dude, he's the biggest named player in college football.
Oh, yeah.
And he's coming off of surgery. Like, we want to know what's going on with the guy. And of course, they always freak out. They always overreact when it comes to the quarterback position, and multiply that by 100 when the guy's last name is Manning.
Yes, for sure.
And, typically that's been the case with the national media, but also with Texas fans. It's like, I feel like we got a national championship squad, and the biggest reason we feel that way is because of that quarterback. So we'd like to make sure that, he's going to be the same guy he was to close out the 2025 season here in 2026.
Just have some good times playing catchy catch this summer, Arch. See you later.
Playing catchy catch. Here's another one from Steve Sarkisian. The guys who were a big part of things in the spring, did they enjoy the spring, and did you enjoy how practice went over the last couple of months?
Really, I think is the same sentiment I've been saying, is really high competitive spirit. They really enjoyed a lot of the competition work we did this spring. It was, like I said, it was very competitive. I think they know they still got a bad taste in their mouth that they didn't have an opportunity to make the playoffs, and say, okay, we got to get back to work, coach. And then that's spearheaded by your leaders. That's Talkin and Arch and Ryan Wingo and Trevor Gooseby, those guys, Hero Canoe. But what I love about it is a lot of these transfers came here to do the very same thing. They came here because they wanted to compete for a championship. And you think about Cam Coleman, Hollywood Smothers, Raleek Brown, Rasheem Biles. Those guys weren't in the playoffs last year either. Bo Masco. And so everybody's, I think the beauty of it, kind of committed to the common goal, and they're working like it. But what I love about this group is they have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, I don't care about their fun. They're coming to compete for a championship. They're good quality players that have an opportunity, even though they're coming from different places. They're that good that they're going to compete for a national championship, and that means that every practice, BK, that means that every session they have, every time they do drills, they got to compete at a championship level. And I think that's what the head coach is seeing. I don't care about their fun. I don't. I'm serious. I don't.
We're not here.
It's nice to say. It's good to say because you want to make it so that they still love the game. Like when they were little boys and all that. I don't care about that either. No, play like grown men that are looking for a national championship. That's cool with me.
Yeah, we're here to win.
There you go, BK. That's you. That's how you coach.
We got a job to do.
What about fun, though, BK? Don't you want them to have some fun in the process?
You know what's fun?
What's that?
Winning.
There you go.
Winning is a lot of fun.
Thank you, Nick Saban.
So just keep winning.
Yes. You can have all the fun you want after the trophy, after the trophy ceremony. Go have all the fun you want.
You know where you can have some fun?
Yeah,
Vegas. Vegas, baby.
Yes.
That's where the national championship game is next January.
Now you're talking fun.
So, yeah, we could all have some fun together on the Strip.
There you go.
In early 2027 if we just win, That's it.
Yeah,
not asking for much. Just go win a national title. That's it.
But I like the way he talks about the competition, about how they compete with each other. That's the deal right there. You have to be able to compete like that. But that's all the time. That's in everything that you do when you're trying to play for a national championship. That's in all the weird little drills that you do that you don't take much heat in, and saying, oh, I'm going to go through this drill today. Guess what? I'm going to do this same drill tomorrow and the next day. And the running back and the wide receiver coach are going to make me do this again and again. But as long as you have that mindset of getting better every time you do it, that's the way you become a champion.
Competition breeds excellence, and
yes.
I think that matters. And look, there have been years in the past, early in the Steve Sarkisian era especially, where Texas didn't have a lot of depth. There weren't a lot of guys on the bench pushing for starting roles. And now it's like, there's so much talent at every position on this team, and guys who maybe they were backups last year or they're freshmen coming in, and it would make sense that they're sitting, but they don't want to sit. They want to play. So if you're not buttoned up, if you're not ready to roll, if you're not competing in practice, then someone's going to take your spots.
I never, coaching running backs, coaching Ricky and Priest Holmes, and saying, when I told them to get on a 7-man sled and they were running backs, I said, so wasn't that fun? They've never said, dude, that sucked. What the hell? I'm not an offensive lineman. Why am I on a 7-man sled? Where'd you pick this up, Buck? I would hear that. Where'd you pick up this little ditty? Where'd you get this from? Boston College? Did you bring this from Illinois with you? Yeah, I kind of did there, boys.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you having fun with it? no, we hate you for this.
Hey, we're not here to have fun. We're here to win.
Yeah, that's right.
All right? Remember those rules. All right, we'll take your thoughts. The Coda text line 512-222-9328. Again, Steve Sarkeesian, a guest on the Craig Way Show earlier this week. He continues to talk pretty glowingly about his team, and you could tell he's excited about what he's got on his roster.
Absolutely.
Which should be exciting, I think, to Longhorn fans everywhere. In a couple of minutes, we will chop it up with Mike Taylor from down in San Antonio. We'll get his thoughts on the Spurs' first-round series win over Portland. We'll ask him who he'd rather the Spurs see in round 2. Mike also covers the Cowboys, so we'll get a few thoughts on the Cowboys NFL draft as well. But before we chop it up with Mike, Buck, how about a few more sponsor shout-outs?
Folks, heal, recover, work smarter, sleep, reimagine, and Relax the Back embraces a holistic approach for a healthier lifestyle based on 35 years of proven expertise, and my back couldn't be happier. I'm sitting in my nice Relax the Back chair right now and loving every second that I sit in this chair. My back feels fantastic. And if you've got a problem with your head, your neck, your shoulders, your lumbar area, your thoracic area, please call on our friends at Relax the Back. 2 wonderful locations. One is at the Hill Country Galleria, right across the street from Whole Foods, and in North Austin at the Gateway Shopping Center across from the Container Store. Live pain-free, like the Buck, at Relax the Back.
Yes, indeed. Love our friends at Relax the Back. Also, a shout out to our friends at Centex Tickets. If you want to attend any sporting event, there's only one place you need to go to find your seat. That is centextickets.com. I know there's a bunch of options you have, but when you shop Centex, number one, you're supporting a local business. And number two, you're supporting yourself because they're going to give you 10% off. All you have to do is type in the promo code CENTEX10 when you check out, and boom, just like that, you're going to get 10% off of any ticket purchase, whether you're buying one or taking the entire fam, taking the whole friend group. It does not matter. It's 10% off. If you want to catch a Spurs playoff game, if you want to catch a Longhorn baseball or softball game, if you want to catch an Astros or Rangers game. Plus, they have concerts. They've got the iHeart Country Music Festival coming up this weekend and any other festival. They've got comedy shows. Y'all know what I'm doing. Any live event that you want to attend, centextickets.com is the place to go to find your seats.
Yes, indeed.
Also, a shout out to our friend Dr. Chad and his great team at Sleep Cycle Center. If you are a snorer, or if your significant other is a snorer, reach out to our guy, Dr. Chad. Look, snoring is not just annoying to the person sleeping next to you. It can be a sign of a serious health problem. More than 22 million Americans have undiagnosed sleep apnea, and folks have lost their lives. NFL Hall of Famer Reggie White lost his life in his sleep because of undiagnosed sleep apnea. Our guy, Dr. Chad, lost his own father to undiagnosed sleep apnea. It's why he's so passionate and committed to this project of getting your sleeping problems taken care of. It's not just snoring. If you're having trouble falling or staying asleep, if you feel tired or drowsy throughout the day, that is a problem. SleepCycleCenters.com. 2 Austin area locations, one up north on 183 and Breaker, the other in Lakeway off of 620. Mention the show for a free consultation, and you're also going to get $100 off an at-home sleep study from our friends at Sleep Cycle Center.
Sweet.
All right. In the waiting room, ready to
Yes,
rock.
indeed.
Let's talk some NBA playoffs. Let's talk some San Antonio Spurs basketball, a little Dallas Cowboys football as well with Mike Taylor, longtime sports radio host in San Antonio and currently the host of the In the Building podcast. Mike, kind enough to join us again here on Bucky and BK. It's good to see you, man. How are you today?
Good to be back. I know a lot of ex-radio guys doing podcasts these days. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you got that right.
Feels like all of us are doing it, right?
Yeah,
Hey, I admire y'all's setup. I'm just sitting here watching you, and I'm like, I compare everybody to us now, guys that have done this. And so y'all got a good look. Good to be back on.
I appreciate that.
It's good to have you, Mike. It's good to have you.
Yeah.
Following the Spurs and as the way they continue to grow, it looks like each and every game they just get a little bit better, a little bit more mature. Whether they're catching up to teams, whether they seem to hit a lull every once in a while, Mike, during the course of a game, especially when they start to build leads. There's that little stretch of about 4 or 5 minutes where they seem to let teams come right back at them a little bit, and then they start playing that crazy defense that they play. And they just put the stuffing on teams. They really are mature in a way that young teams, you just don't see that in a lot of young teams. You see teams that when a team comes back on you, they let you come back, but the Spurs don't seem to let them come all the way back.
Inexperience is supposed to matter, and so far it doesn't with these dudes. And you're right, a lot of young teams that get down big in playoff games that they've never played in before tend to go ahead and lose those games. Don't love that they have a propensity so far to give up leads and let guys go on runs, but they're human beings and they're kids, and all they do is prove me wrong, Bucky. I mean, all year long, I've just tried to be the cautious uncle, the old man. Always has to remind us that it's not supposed to be fun. We're here to win, like you just said.
Yes.
But all they do is prove me wrong. They're just so light years ahead. And I think it says something to the culture, trying not to be too biased and homery, but it just said something about the culture that the guys before this particular group of kids put in place with Pop and Tim and David and those guys. And these kids it's like, we were talking about this yesterday, me and Rudy, my co-host. It's like, is it the culture that the kid comes here and learns the culture, or they just know who they're not going to sacrifice character for the guys they bring in? There's 100 guys that are good. And I'm not trying to be all highbrow sounding, but there's something to be said for the kids they bring in too. So you bring in good kids already, and then you put them into the culture that's already established, and then you get 5-round playoffs, gentlemen's sweeps like we just saw.
Yeah, Mike Taylor joining us here on Bucky and BK. Greg Popovich obviously laid the foundation in San Antonio, but I think Mitch Johnson has done a hell of a job. And we were talking about this yesterday, Mike. Like, what's the old saying? You don't want to be the guy who follows the legend. You want to be the guy who follows the guy who follows the legend.
Right.
I mean, Mitch Johnson, right, year one last year, 34 wins. People weren't quite sure what he was all about. I mean, a 28-win improvement, the 2 seed in the West, the gentleman's sweep in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, this looks like a team that has all the makings of a deep playoff run. I feel like Mitch Johnson maybe deserves a little bit more credit. Your thoughts on that and the job that he's been doing?
Could not agree more. And I was wrong. Again, it's the unknown, right? So like when Pop got sick, I'm thinking, well, okay, Denver just fired Michael Malone. They need to at least give him a look. Who knows? Steve Kerr may get tired of being in Golden State, want to come down here. He's got Spurs ties. Who knows? Doc Rivers, maybe. And you go through all these different names, and it's like the kid was sitting there on the bench all these years, the right replacement. The Spurs did not want they didn't want the next guy to replace the legend to fail, then find the right guy. The Spurs did a great job because that culture to make sure that the guy we replaced the old man with is the right guy. We don't want to have that gap year with that guy that comes in and fails because he's following Pop. Mitch has been groomed for this for years. His dad played in the league. He's a coach's kid. He played at Stanford. Brooke Lopez, as they called him, Einstein, when he was at Stanford because how smart he was on the court. And that's great that you know the game, but can you teach the game? Can you coach the game? Can you manage egos? Can you handle Victor Wembanyama being handed to you with your first job in the NBA? And Mitch has been amazing. He's so well beyond his years. He's, I think, 39 now, but he's about 49, not to be an ageist, but he's about 49 in brain power. He's been terrific, and they love him, and even the veterans do. Keldon Johnson, man, Harrison Barnes is almost as old as he is, and they just rave about the job Mitch has done.
Mike, when you have an established culture like they do with the Spurs, are the guys, the legends, the Tim Duncans, the David Robinsons? I don't know what Tony Parker, if he's even comes around, but I see these guys at all these games. Are they kind of hands-on? Does the organization love to have not only those guys attending games, but hands-on, talking to the players, being around those type of players, being around Wemby? Are they more than just fans and former players and legends of the Spurs?
Yeah, they are, and it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, I respect Manu, and I respect David, that kind of thing. But they really, the guys, a lot of guys on this team really do lean on these guys. Dylan Harper the other day mentioned, because he's left-handed, Manu has worked with him a lot in being a left-handed player in the NBA, and he's learned a lot in year one just hanging out with Manu. When Keldon Johnson won 6th Man of the Year last week, he spent 3 minutes talking about Greg Popovich being a father figure and how guys like Tim and David, that just having them here, because he's been here 7 years, Keldon Johnson, so he's kind of grown up in the NBA with those guys being around. It's just the culture. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like, a lot of us old school guys that have been in San Antonio a long time, Tim, Tony, and Manu, those are our guys. Now you got these new kids in here, so it's pretty cool to see these to see my guys kind of mentoring these young kids.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's been really cool to see. David's at all. I've never seen David get up and yell before. He did the other night. He goes to all the games because he's like 2% owner. He cheers for the Spurs, but you never see David get mad. I saw that man stand up and yell at a man the other night. He was up. David got caught up in it. There's a reason why David Robinson stayed living here. There's a reason why Manu could have gone back to Argentina, raised his kids in his homeland. Tony is in and out because he's got a lot of business ventures. But whenever Tony's in town, Wemby takes a shine to that because of the French connection. So yeah, it's all intertwined, and it's really cool. It really is.
Yeah, Mike Taylor in the building, joining us here in the building on Bucky and BK. Mike, looking ahead to round 2.
Yes, sir.
We don't know who the Spurs are going to play just yet. We might get our answer tonight. Do you have a preference? I mean, it feels like it probably should be Denver, or you probably should be Minnesota, excuse me, because Minnesota's dealing with all the injuries. You feel like maybe it's an easier path for the Spurs if they get the more injured team. Your thoughts on the Nuggets and the Wolves, and maybe how the Spurs match up with both of those two potential second-round opponents?
Well, first of all, Anthony Edwards getting hurt sucks. I hate that. Taking myself out of the Spurs bubble, just as an NBA fan, all these stars that are out really stinks. Now, that being said, you don't make excuses for winning. So if the Spurs can take advantage of those injuries, hey, cool. The check's still cash and the ring's still shiny. Give me Minnesota all day, man. I don't want jack squat to do with Denver because of their championship pedigree. Jokic has struggled the last couple of games in that series with Minnesota, but he's still Jokic. For whatever reason, it was a bad matchup. Spurs dropped 3 or 4 games to Denver. Minnesota, they only went 1-2 against the Timberwolves. But Anthony Edwards didn't have a hyperextended knee in those games. And Dante DiVincenzo is a decent player for them. He's a starter. So they've got 2 starters out. So now back to my Spurs homer bubble. What I want to have happen tonight is Denver win, stretch the series to a game 7, then Minnesota win game 7, and they got to do a quick flight to San Antonio Monday, and their dog tired, and we run them off the floor. That's what the Spurs fan wants. Yeah. So give me Minnesota all day.
I like that. I feel like every time we have you on, Mike, we have to ask a Wemby question. I mean,
sure.
Is there anything this guy does that surprises you anymore? I mean, I know he does things that the league has never seen before, and it feels like every night he's doing something that hasn't been done since the Admiral or hasn't been done since Hakeem or just a legend of the game. I mean, you heard Shaquille O'Neal the other night say he's the perfect big man. Like, is there anything Wemby does that surprises you at this point, or is it just, it's just Wemby?
It doesn't surprise me, but it still amazes me, if that makes sense. You ever seen a guy block a shot that went over the backboard like a field goal, went 10 rows? That was the block he had on Danny Artesia the other night that sailed over the backboard. Was insane. We did our post-game show after the game, and all anyone could talk about in our chat was how much Doris Burke clearly loved Wemby and wanted to be his mom, because she just salivated over him the whole game, right? It's like some of these national broadcasters that only see the Spurs 2 or 3 times a year. You can just hear in their voice. They're just shocked to see him. I'm not shocked because I see him all the time, but I'm amazed every single night. And what we don't need to do is start taking that guy for granted. He's 21. He just got here. We're still tapping into what he can do, which I don't even know what else is there. Just winning titles at this point. I mean, it's incredible when you think about how old he is. But no, I'm not shocked, but I'm amazed every single time, whether it's on TV and in person. I don't know if you guys have seen them play in person yet. I mean, next year when they go up to Austin, or if you get a chance to come down here, you have to see that in person as a basketball fan, thinking you've seen it all. Because I've been watching the NBA since I was 6 years old. I haven't seen anything like that kid. And so I don't want to take that for granted. Not shocked, amazed every single night. Every night.
I am amazed at the way he plays 100% all the time. That's what I'm amazed at, because that guy's been dominating basketball games since he was 4. You know what I mean? Blocking shots and being tall and being bigger than anybody on the court. So it made it look easy. But he works like it's not easy. I mean, he comes out of nowhere to try to block shots. I mean, there's guys underneath him that guy could fall over and break his face again. But he doesn't shy away from trying to block things that you look at and say, well, you don't have to block that shot. I mean, if he makes it, it's a great make by the guy. But he seems to be the guy that says, oh no, he's not going to, this ball isn't going to get up, so he's going to have a possibility of making it. Yeah. And he's dominated for such a long time but the way he plays 100% all the time is amazing to me.
It's incredible. It's probably the reason why he gets hurt on every couple of months, to be honest with you, because he just goes balls out nonstop, which is great. He's a kid. He's a wild Mustang, and that's great. Since he's got here, all he has said was, I want the smoke. I don't mind being the face of the NBA. I want to be Defensive Player of the Year. I want to be MVP. It's like, okay, we're not used to that kind of stuff down here because Tim was so reserved all those years, and David's a Navy kid and all this kind of thing. Not that he's like, look at me. Yeah. He just wants all that greatness. And to your point earlier about the legends that have been kind of, been mentors to these kids. Somebody asked Wemby the other day, do you feel the weight of Tim Duncan, David Robinson, George Gervin? Do you feel the weight of the franchise in those banners? And Wemby's answer was no. Actually, I'm going to sound like a zillennial. These guys actually provide me a safe space. I'm comfortable in this role because of those guys, because those guys don't stand there hovering over me. Look, those banners, I did that. And you need, that's the standard. They've welcomed him as a nephew, if you will. And so he actually is comfortable in the role he is, which is franchise player, because of those legends. And it just goes to your point earlier, the last question about the mentorship that the old school guys have on these kids.
Yeah, it's well said. Mike Taylor from In the Building joining us here on Bucky and BK. You can find that show on all of the platforms, wherever you get your podcast, YouTube as well. Mike promised you a Dallas Cowboys question. I know you've covered the Cowboys for a long time in San Antonio. A lot of folks out there saying the Cowboys, one of the biggest winners of last weekend's NFL draft. Would love to get your thoughts on what the Jones boys were able to accomplish last weekend.
All right, so the Spurs are my PBS highbrow television show. When I watch them, I know I'm going to get smarter. This is my highbrow educational show. Yeah. The Cowboys are my Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, right? That's just entertainment. I mean, I'm 51 years old. Hopefully I'll see 90. We'll see however many years I've got left. I'm not going to waste it being mad at Jerry Jones anymore. I have learned to forget football. Just entertain me when it comes to the Cowboys. I don't care what happens. Just as long as it's entertaining, I'm fine. So that all being said, they couldn't do anything but get better on defense. That's the worst defense they've ever fielded last year. But they've gotten a lot better, and they took a lot of blank for the Micah Parsons trade. But you fast forward to now, they now have, they obviously Caleb Downs is a stud, but they have two decent edge rushers, they hope. They brought in Malachi Lawrence, who was an all-conference player, this year. They love this kid, Donovan Ezeraku, their other edge. No, those guys aren't Micah Parsons. We'll see how things go. They've got two stud tackles in between. They've got a good offensive line. Caleb Downs, I hate comparing old school players to new ones. It's not fair to either, but man, the Cowboys have had such a dearth of talent at safety for 20 years. He's the most talented guy they've brought in here since Darren Woodson. I've loved Caleb Downs for 2 years. He made Arch Manning's life hell last year. They could back on that. God, why did Texas have to start with Ohio State? Anyway, that all being said, they made his life hell. So they brought in a solid starting safety in free agency from Arizona to now pair with Caleb Downs. They've got another edge on the outside they like. They took a kid in the third round from Michigan, Jayshon Barham, who's an edge. They like him too. They can only have gotten better, but they've gotten really better. All they have to be is half-ass because the offense is pretty good. Just, I don't know, be the 18th best defense in the league, and maybe you win the division. And I think that they, so I'll give Jerry some football praise here and his staff. They've done a good job. Sorry to be so long-winded, but they've gotten a lot better, on paper anyway. But now it's got to go play itself out. And Christian Parker, the new defensive coordinator, enjoy him while you have him because he's a head coach in 2 years, if not one.
Mike, for a long time, speaking of old timers, which I am, I even go back to Charlie Waters.
Yes, sir.
And Downs. You're talking about a guy who could tackle. Charlie Waters could tackle. I mean, he wasn't the biggest guy, but boy, when he wrapped you up, he brought you down. And that's what Downs reminds me of, a guy like that. In open space, he makes the tackles. And I remember people were thinking, you think, Bucky, you really think Charlie Waters was really good back there? So I said, well, yeah, I thought he was really good.
Yeah.
Watching. I was a kid when I watched Charlie Waters play. And I was like, dude, that dude can tackle. He can just flat out. He wasn't the greatest cover guy, but that dude could tackle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, only member of the all 70s decade team, I think, to not be in the Hall of Fame, which is a whole different. the Hall of Fame's a fraud. I've discounted it. Anyway, no, I love Charlie Waters. This kid should be every bit as good as the great safeties they've had. He's that good. I mean, you guys probably know more than me. You guys, Bucky, you can scout and look at these kids from an X's and O's standpoint. I just could not be more excited to have Caleb Downs back there. You show me an elite defense in the NFL, and I'll show you a defense that has a good safety. And they have not been able to say that. They've had good edge rushers. They've had decent linebackers. Hopefully DeMarvion Overshown can stay healthy for once. But this kid, Caleb Downs, is going to make everybody's life easier.
Yes.
And just cannot wait to see him play the game for us.
He's the real deal. Yeah. Can't believe he fell. I know the Cowboys did have to trade off one pick to get him, but I can't believe he even got to 11. So
cannot believe it. Must be the position. 6 teams will rue the day they let that kid pass.
Now, you still like the drama, though. So George Pickens signs his little tenure there and everything. So you think he'll be satisfied and happy and smiling when camp comes still? You think he's excited about playing for the Dallas Cowboys, or do you still need some drama?
Man, I mean, you have to be. I've just decided that all wide receivers are a little bit nuts. They just all are. Maybe you can't play that position on that level without being a little bit nuts. I don't know. We'll see. Everything he said the right things. So happy to be here. Hope to help the ball club. Good Lord willing, things will work out. Rescued me from Pittsburgh. Love CD. Love Dak. It's been great. He is going to make $27 million in the next 8 months. That doesn't suck.
No.
But again, going back to nutty wide receivers, y'all, I mean, will I be shocked if all of a sudden we get to training camp here in a month and he's a no-show? No. He's got the same agent as Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Which they went to hell and back with that guy last year with David Mufaletta. I always get the name wrong. But he's got that same agent.
I would love Jerry Jones to call him David Mufaletta at some point this year.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Playing that bit, he still doesn't know his name.
I bought that. I got that at a Greek restaurant one time. It was pretty good, but I don't like it. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully George will realize, look, this is a great spot. My Q rating quadrupled because now I'm a Cowboy and I play wide receiver, and just go play ball, have a good season. Somebody will pay you next year, whether it's Dallas or whoever. I mean, that's true. Take it up with your union. The Cowboys used the franchise tag because your union allowed it to happen. So I can't blame Dallas. Can you pay 2 wide receivers north of $25 million? Because CeeDee Lamb's already making that. I don't know that you can. So at the end of the day, he ain't nothing but a wide receiver. You can find those. So if he's unhappy, fine. I know I got Caleb Downs at safety.
You can't have it all.
I'm happy. You can't have it all. There's 54 guys that have to get a contract, and I'm going to err on the side of caution on these dang wide receivers. But he was terrific. I don't want to take away from what he did here. Hopefully he realizes that, okay, I know it's about business, but they did trade a 3rd-round pick for you. They did welcome you. They were the opposite of your experience in Pittsburgh. Yes. Be patient. See how things work out. And $27 million over 8 months does not suck.
No, I would sign anything that gives me that kind of money. That'd be nice.
We wouldn't need sponsors. We'd do podcasts for free. We'd just do them for fun.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, great stuff, man. Really appreciate your time today. Hopefully we're previewing a Spurs Thunder Western Conference final.
Yeah,
maybe it's Spurs Rockets or Spurs Lakers would be a little better. But
hey, y'all owe me 2 appearances now when we get close to football season. Just saying. I won't let you forget. All right.
You've got my number, man. Reach out.
Guys.
Thank you, Mike.
There you go. Mike Taylor in the building. Check out his podcast. Does a great job covering the Spurs. They're doing post-game shows after Spurs playoff games. So if you're a Spurs diehard and you're looking for great coverage of their team's postseason run, you could find Mike Taylor's show in the building, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. And you can follow Mike on Twitter as well at Mike Taylor Show.
Awesome.
Good stuff right there. Yep. I'm high on the Cowboys draft as well. You and I are both high on the Caleb Downs pick and George Pickens. We will see what happens. I don't expect him to report to camp. I do expect him to be annoying in the offseason, but $27 million, man, if he does not play, he does not get that money. So I do think
you gotta want that. You still got to want that money, don't you?
You would think, and we're not talking about a guy who's made hundreds of millions of dollars in his career so far. Like the 27 mil that he's set to make in 2026 is more than he's made in any year of his football life.
Right.
So if he sits out, he makes none of that. I get he wants the long-term contract. Everybody does. They want that financial security. But $27 million, man, that's pretty silly to turn that down.
No, it's silly to be a pain in the ass for that too. You got to be the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, I would be.
Oh yeah, I'll be Mr. Nice Guy. Heck yeah.
Whatever you
For
want.
27 mil.
Telling you. So there you go. There's some Cowboys talk. There's some Spurs talk with Mike Taylor. In a few minutes, we'll talk to Shehan Jayaraja from CBS Sports. He's a national college football writer. We'll get his thoughts on the Brendon Sorsby situation and everything else going on in the world of college football. Before we go from guest to guest, we might have a few minutes to kill in between. Let's give another round of sponsor shout-outs.
So to our friend Matt King, who's about to take a 2,000-mile bike ride to help folks around this country. If you believe in doing something that really makes a difference, then help the rideproject.com out by giving a donation. So Mike will raise $1 million and give away $1 million along his route to communities, individuals in need. Matt will find out who they are, and he will give all of that money away. That is something special, folks. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people will raise $1 million, keep 700,000, give away 300,000. Not this dude. He's giving away every cent back to the community along the way. And he's taking that ride from Mexico all the way to Canada. So please go to therideproject.com and give. Please.
Yes, indeed. Therideproject.com. Also, some love to Early Bird CBD.
Yeah, man.
Got the drops. What do we have here today? Oh, yeah, we've got the watermelon gummies here today.
There you go.
Got a lot of gummies. We got to do another giveaway for some Early Bird products.
Absolutely.
They sent me some things, and I use them a lot, but they sent me more than I can use. And I want our audience to take advantage of the greatness that is Early Bird CBD. If you're new to the show and you're hearing about Early Bird for the first time, well, a little background. This is a local Austin company, and they make products that are designed to make you feel good. They've got gummies. They've got the brand new drops. They've got tinctures. They've got a number of different ways to get all of the great benefits of their products. It's CBD, but it's also a microdose of THC as well. You want to take the edge off after a long day. If you just want to relax, have a movie night, a little Netflix and chill with your significant other. If you just need a good night's sleep, maybe what you've tried before isn't working. Early Bird CBD has you covered. I know the Buck, you take them for golf.
It does wonders. Does wonders for my back that I've had. You know, I love my relaxed back chair, but my relaxed back chair I can't take to the golf course. So when I'm having a round of golf, just before I have that round, about an hour or so before, I'll take a gummy, and dude, it works for about 2 days. It works for a full 2 days now. I figured it out. I have no pains after. Generally, I have to take a Vicodin, which you don't want to get into having to take those. No matter what you do, you don't want to have to depend on that kind of medication. But the early birds I'll take, and I can go to 2 days, BK, without even feeling any soreness after a round of walking around. As I told you, I walk close to 5 miles when I play, and everybody's on me about getting in the cart, staying in the cart. But I want to get my steps in. I want to get walking in. I want to get exercise. But I don't want to feel the pain the next day when I get out of bed. And so far with the early bird, with the drops I did the other day, I feel fantastic for at least 2 full days. Yeah. I'm not having any soreness. So they work for me in that way.
There you go. Earlybirdcbd.com. Use the promo code Bucky, and you're going to get 20% off your first order.
I love those, man. I love them. You know what else I love? Hat Creek Burger Company. Because, you know, now my wife's back in town, so she doesn't like me running off to getting a bunch of burgers. But when I do, I go to Hat Creek Burger Company for sure. That's a great place, good food, good folks there. And they've had over 30 locations in the state of Texas. And for mom and dad, if you want to have a margarita or so at the end of work and you want to take the kids to have a Hat Creek burger, have one of those burgers or some of that great fries and milkshakes, you can enjoy your margarita while the kids play at the Playscape. It is a wonderful place. It's a great place to meet people from other communities too. There are other dads out there bringing kids from the neighborhood to play and eat at Hat Creek Burgers. Mom and dad, make that your choice when it's time to get the burger. And the double with cheese is fantastic for me. I started out with the little hat. Now I'm the big guy. I go to the big hat now with cheese.
Got to go cheese.
And BK's got me on all those fries, those different types of fries. So I got to be careful with all of those fries. And especially speaking of playing around the golf, can't do fries, milkshake, and the hamburger. I've known that now. I found that out after the first time I did that. That doesn't sit well.
It's because you're soft, but that's all right.
Yeah, I'm soft. Yeah, that's the reason. Because I'm soft.
Come on.
There are others that can do doubles with cheese and fries and shakes. Not the Buck. That's a little too much for me to carry around in the course of a round of golf.
Yeah, that would double your weight, I think, if you ate all
Yes,
that.
it would. The queso fries.
Come on, man. Don't sleep on the queso fries.
Man.
Love Hat Creek Burger Company. And a quick shout out to Waterloo Printing and Graphics. If you have a company that needs merch or signs or stickers or hats or koozies, I guess all of that kind of is merch, isn't it? Waterloo Printing and Graphics has you covered. They're based right here in South Austin. They can get you what you need very quickly. 512-300-9641. Reach out to Adam, who runs the show at Waterloo Printing and Graphics, and he will get you what you need very quickly. Buck, something you and I did not talk about yesterday that has been a huge story in the world of college sports and just sports in general is that the NCAA is set to expand the tournament from 68 to 76 teams. They have initiated the final steps towards expansion. It's been discussed for a while, but it is on track to be formalized in the coming weeks and is expected to begin this coming season. So the next time we have March Madness, early 2027, instead of 68, there will be 76 teams.
The more the merrier. This is happening.
It's happening. For both the men and the women, by the way.
Yeah, this is not one of those that, well, we'll see in 2 or 3 years. This is happening next year.
Yeah, unlike college football, they made this happen pretty quickly.
Yes.
It's like they didn't keep this thing completely under wraps because, again, we had heard about the possibility of NCAA tourney expansion for a while now, but it wasn't a huge national story until it's happening. But, yeah, look, we know the biggest reason why. It's all about the almighty dollar.
Yes, and the almighty dollar will be there still.
Yeah, and how this is going to change, well, you're going to get 8 additional at-large bids. Obviously, they're not adding conferences, so still the conference champs are going to get the automatic bid, and you'll just have 8 more at-large bids for both the men and the women. And what we know now is the first 4, obviously us Longhorn fans know it very well because Texas has played in it in each of the last 2 years. The first 4 is going to expand to 12 games, and there will be 24 teams in the first 4 instead of what we've had with 8. And there's going to be 2 first 4 sites. So they'll keep one in Dayton where it has been, but they're also going to play something not in the Eastern time zone, something west of the Mississippi. I don't know if it's going to be like West Coast or maybe Central. Who knows? But
we don't need West Coast, do we?
I mean, I don't care. Probably not. We don't need to be staying up till 3 a.m. watching these games. It already feels like the first 4 games are too late anyways, and they play in the Eastern time zone. So I'm like, oh, God, if they put one in, I don't know, Riverside, California, then what's going to happen? But you're going to get an additional 8 games. And again, it's all added to the first 4. I don't know what they're going to call it at this point. But that's the change that is coming to college hoops.
I mean, I'm not against. I mean, you know, during you're so used to so many teams playing basketball. It's fine. I mean, I can't imagine when they start getting to this craziness with football. You know, the 24 teams or whatever it is. When they start mounting this up, this is going to be something. Basketball, it doesn't bother me.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And everybody loves the tournament, and I don't think this was needed. But you know, for all the people who are complaining, and the majority of fans are complaining, and I get why. I don't like this either, but you're still going to watch. I'm still going to watch.
Right.
And that's what the NCAA cares about. They're doing this for money. So they know that people love the tournament. Let's just add a few more games to the tournament. More fan bases are going to be involved and engaged.
Yeah, they're not going to not watch. They're going to watch.
The TV networks are going to pay us more money. And college basketball doesn't make money outside of the NCAA tournament. That's the only time where they make money. And honestly, the NCAA only makes money in football and the NCAA tournament. So they are trying to take advantage of those events as much as they possibly can.
Sure.
And, people will complain and gripe, but that's why they're doing it. In college basketball, Buck, it has the easiest excuse ever. So think of the NBA, right? The NBA playoffs are going on right now. Because of the play-in tournament that they've added, 20 of the 30 teams in the NBA make the postseason every year. Yeah, that's 67%, right? College basketball, 76 teams are getting in. They have 365 teams in Division I men's college hoops. It's like 20% of the sport gets in. So they can always say, we're not putting that many in. Look at the NBA. Look at the NFL. Look at all these other leagues. And that's going to be their argument, and it's a very easy one for them to make. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't feel that's putting a hardship on players or putting a hardship on the NCAA. They're about to make a lot more money, a lot more revenue with sponsors is about to happen for them.
That's all it is. So we'll get back into the college basketball conversation in a moment, but joining us now, I don't think you and I have ever talked to this guy together, but a guy that I've followed for years, and I've interviewed this guy a number of times at a number of different jobs that I've had. He is one of the very best college football analysts, writers, insiders out there, and he's kind enough to join us here to talk Brendon Sorsby and everything going on in the world of college football. Shehan Jayaraja from CBS Sports joining us on Bucky and BK. Shehan, good to see you, man. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us, for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll start off with the biggest story in college football. I know you've been covering it and writing about it. I mean, who hasn't? Brendon Sorsby, the high-priced transfer quarterback who reportedly received $5 million to transfer to Texas Tech, being investigated by the NCAA for gambling. We know he's checked into a treatment facility. I guess your thoughts on this entire story, how it all came about, and is there any chance Sorsby is going to be able to play college football in 2026?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story, certainly one that we didn't expect. I mean, as you guys know, being in the state of Texas, right, like this really isn't an issue that we run into quite as much because obviously sports gambling is much more difficult in the state of Texas. But, of course, on Monday, they released an email saying that he's being checked into a rehab facility. And the obvious question that brought up was, for what now? What do they have? What do they know? What information do they have? And, in the days since, we've kind of heard and we've kind of reported that it appears that there have been thousands upon thousands of bets placed on his phone on a sports app. Now, of course, the biggest allegation is that he might have placed bets on games when he was a redshirting freshman at Indiana. And for people who don't know, if you gamble on your own games or anything in your athletic department, because it's essentially almost considered like an insider trading type setup, then you permanently lose eligibility. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If that is proven, which again, I haven't seen the data. Most of us reporting haven't seen the data directly, but we've spoken to people who maybe have seen some of it. If it's that cut and dry, then yeah, it's over. It means that Brendon Sorsby cannot play college football. He can go through certainly an appeals process. And I want to be clear too, the NCAA has not come down with any decision as yet, but I think it becomes really hard to see how they move forward with the way that things are lining up right now.
Sean, can I ask you a question that I'm not quite sure of it, and you may know more. Can this kid go to jail? I mean, if they go back into his past, and if there's findings where he made some money and didn't pay taxes on the money, but you said his name is, if it's through these sites, they must take money out of it for the gambling part of it. Which him putting his name on it is just as dumb as it just seems so dumb. But can he get prison time or go to jail because he didn't pay the government what they're supposed to get or something?
Well, it's a really interesting question, actually, that you bring that up. I haven't actually been asked that. So what my assumption would be, and I don't know this for certain, of course, is that he probably made an account under his parents' name or something like that, right? But if that's the case, if he's legally gambling in that sense through his phone, that means that he's being, monitored from a, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever perspective, the same way as anybody else. So it probably isn't flying under the radar in terms of, like you said, taxable income. I'll also say, look, to all my sports gamblers out there, you're probably losing money. You're probably not making a whole lot of money, which of course lessens some of that impact. Now the thing that he, you would wonder if he would run into trouble for is if he used it to gamble underage. Now, again, that would not necessarily be fraud or insider trading or whatever you want. That would just be like, here's a ticket potentially. And especially for something that would be, at this point, 3-4 years back, like they're probably not going to prosecute in a situation like that. So I would say that he's likely not in legal jeopardy. And I'll also say as well, we had this situation with the players in the state of Iowa at Iowa and Iowa State a couple of years ago, and they obviously dealt with some legal issues. But almost all of those cases were ultimately settled outside of court. They generally didn't have to, they didn't face very severe consequences. And honestly, that was kind of seen, even in hindsight, as a little bit of an overreach. And I think that that's going to be a precedent that they're not going to want to replicate.
Interesting. Shehan Jayaraja from CBS Sports joining us here on Bucky and BK. What does Texas Tech do now? I mean, I know they've got Will Hammond on the roster, but he's obviously recovering from an ACL injury. I'm sure they've got a few other backups as well. So it's not like they don't have anybody who can play quarterback, but no spring transfer portal this year. I mean, is there anything Texas Tech can do, or are they just kind of stuck with what they've got, assuming Sorsby can't play?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, right? And a lot of this conversation comes down to, what do you need? What do you want to do? I think that it is very unlikely. I won't even say unlikely. It is not going to happen that they are going to get a surefire starting quarterback in any way, right? Like, they are going to likely have to start one of the guys on their roster. I would not be surprised if they brought in another quarterback for depth. There are a number of quarterbacks who are still in the transfer portal right now. Now, obviously, again, not the highest quality of quarterback because they're guys who haven't been picked up as yet. But if you want to get another body in the room, that's potentially something that you have the opportunity to do. The other thing, too, and this was brought up kind of the other day, and actually this loophole was kind of filled just a few days ago, but it won't go into effect for a few days. Division II has a rolling transfer window right now. So anybody in Division II actually has the ability to move up from Division II to the FBS level. And certainly that would be true of NAIA or JUCO or anybody like that, right? Now, again, what quality of players available to you? You're probably not getting Trinidad Chambliss. If that guy was there in college football, they probably already would have been looked at and enticed potentially. So I do think it's certainly possible that they add another body in the room. It's not almost certainly going to be a surefire starting body. And I think that the other piece of this as well, I'll say two things about it. One is, you mentioned Will Hammond there. At least in our mind, he's not expected back by the start of the season. Maybe we're talking week 3 or 4, but he is incredibly talented. They love him in that room. I remember walking around with some Texas Tech staffers last year in Lubbock, and they pointed him walking by. And they were like, that kid's the future, right? They really are high on him. Obviously coming off of the ACL, but I think that the thing that you have to look at as well is, like, he doesn't need to be his best by the end of August. He needs to be his best by December. And I think that he gives them the highest upside of any quarterback that they could potentially start. They also have a couple other guys on campus, like you mentioned. Kirk Francis was a player who transferred over from Tulsa, who started 10 games after walking on. Again, not a super high quality player, but one who's played college football. They have 2 underclassmen as well. Lloyd Jones, who came in as a third-string quarterback last year, looked decent, frankly, in his limited action, and a true freshman as well in Stephen Cannon. So I think it's pretty unlikely that they're going to get an upgrade on any of those guys through the transfer portal. And there was a reason that they got a senior 1 year of eligibility and then draft, because they really do like what they have in this room.
That's interesting. Shehan, let me ask you, you've dealt now over the last couple of years with NIL, and you've had to, talk about it with folks. How do you figure payments are in NIL? I mean, a guy like Sorsby gets $5 million. I mean, how do most schools break it down? Is it different with different schools and what you just promised to the kid and their agent and everything else? I mean, could he have picked up a quarter of his money already and put that away that they can't touch? Or, I mean, do guys have to get something like this happens? Hey, do you have to pay that back to the school in your contract? You didn't play in a game. You got in trouble. Now you owe us this money. If you spent this money, we want our money back. How does that work?
No, it's a great question. And, I will preface all of it with we haven't seen a lot of these contracts, right? We don't know. We know, obviously, in the case of the Big Ten's contract with Damon Williams, it's legal enough that they felt like, we were going to go into a long court process if this is challenged. But, we don't necessarily know. We assume, you'd kind of assume, right? This is boilerplate for contracts of this magnitude. There would be some sort of morals clause or something like that. You talk about, when things are paid out, there are some programs that do, 2 or 3 payment cycles a year. There are some programs that do monthly payment cycles. That's what I'd imagine, especially for a contract of this size. I would certainly imagine that he's received a decent amount of his contract to this point. But also I would imagine that the bulk of it would be paid in, August, September, October, and not necessarily in March, April, May. So, look, I'm sure that there probably would be the ability for them to go after him and really try to, sue him and get him into trouble, sort of thing. I will say though too, it's been really interesting, I think, and I made this comparison to somebody the other day. This is kind of a perfect moment to have a high school coach, right? Because who's better positioned to handle the weirdness of life than somebody who's had to deal with that in Cedar Hill, Texas, right? And what I mean by that too is there is a very good chance, I would say it's likely, that Brendon Sorsby never plays a football game for Texas Tech. But Texas Tech and Joey McGuire have already come out very affirmatively in support of Brendon Sorsby. And I think that that's a big part of the culture of this program, right? We know that you're not valuable to us anymore, but we're sending you a message and we're sending everybody else a message. We are still going to try to take care of you and treat you the right way. Now, again, I don't think he's going to get paid his full contract, certainly. But I don't think that, again, they don't want to get into a giant legal dispute with, let's try to get back, 1.2 million or whatever. I think that they're going to try to figure out the best way that they can through this. And also, again, look, I think that Brendon and again, we are obviously talking about this in the football sense. This obviously is one of the worst things that's ever going to happen to him in his life, is this public shaming, right? I think that they're going to try to find a way through and try to find a way for Brendon to be responsible to them in different ways that hopefully, again, is best for both him and the program long term.
Yeah, you want a little bit of a soft landing. That's already a hard landing, but when you put yourself in rehab, when you say we're going to rehab, to me, that's asking the NCAA, hey, kind of take it easy. Let's try to take it easy on this kid. He's put himself in rehab. But once again, if he didn't get caught, that dude would probably still be doing it. If somebody didn't squeal from somewhere, Cincinnati or Indiana, on him, because it didn't come from Texas Tech, it came from somebody else. Would he put himself in rehab? Is he a smart enough kid? I got to go in rehab. Would I jeopardize $5 million by doing this? Hell no, he wouldn't have. If he wouldn't have got caught, he'd still be probably betting on balls and strikes.
Yeah, it's a crazy story for sure. Shehan Jayaraja from CBS Sports joining us here. Definitely want to ask you a Longhorn question since we're here in Austin, Shehan. Got to be selfish. But we'd love to get your thoughts on, the offseason that Texas had and just kind of your way too early expectations for Texas football in 2026.
Yeah, I hope nobody down there is trying to temper expectations, because it's going to be a very pressure-packed season in the best of ways, right? When you look at what they did, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they've checked every box, right? Bringing in a player like Cam Coleman, who's as good a receiver that has come through Texas in a very long time. Obviously, bringing back Arch. Adding one of the 2 running backs of Raleek Brown or Hollywood Smothers would have been awesome. Getting both of them is just nuts. That's not normal. And everybody, talks about the NFL style of running backs don't matter. This is college football. Running backs actually do matter quite a bit, as I think that Texas fans probably could tell you over the past 2 years. So offensively, there's so much reason for excitement. And there's also, just to be frank, there's no excuses, right? This has to be a top 10 national unit. This has to be one of the best in the SEC. They brought in a lot of help along the offensive line. They brought back their tackles. Trevor Gooseby is a player who would have pushed for first round eligibility potentially if he had come out this year, and he came back. Defensively, I'm really curious, because I think that there's a lot to be excited about. Bringing the transfer from Pittsburgh, of course, at linebacker. I think that they're still really good up front. I think they're still really good in the secondary. I'm fascinated to see, right? It is a risk, certainly, pushing out a defensive coordinator who did a good job in Pete Kwiatkowski to bring in a defensive coordinator in Will Muschamp, who is one of the greatest of the 21st century, but also hasn't called defense full-time in a couple of years, right? So I'm fascinated to see how that dynamic works out. I think that, this is probably a dynamic that will work, that you're hoping that, again, like we talked about with Will Hammond, that it's peaking in December and not necessarily in September. But look, I think that Texas is very, very likely to start the year preseason number 1, and there's a lot that goes along with that.
Oh, no.
Well, we know that from last year, brother. Believe me. Shahan, what did you think of Alabama upping the contract of Kalen DeBoer? Did that surprise you? And I mean, it was like, why? I mean, where was he going? What was he going to do?
Well, you know what's funny? I think that there's a piece of it that's Alabama's athletic department. I do think that they believe in Kalen DeBoer. I think they understand all the complications of being him in this moment. I think in some ways, like, giving him a contract like this answers the question, like, no, we're not firing him. No, he's not on the hot seat. Like, he is our guy. Don't even ask about it for the next 2 or 3 years, right? Yeah. I think that that's part of it. Now, again, does he have to get bumped to $12.5 million a year? I don't know about that. But, like, I do think that, again, that's a big part of the calculus, is they want to say, we're committing to you. We're sending a public message that we're committing to you. We're not going to make rash short-term decisions. And again, like, certainly there have been some frustrations and some issues with Kalen DeBoer and his team during his couple years at Alabama. But I think that also, like, again, nobody was going to be able to come in year 1 or 2 after Nick Saban and match Nick Saban. And by the way, when we talk about Nick Saban, I mean, we can point out, right, since 2020, he had 2 or 3 years, and it was a step below what it had been in the past. So I think that they're trying to figure out some of this new era stuff too, right? I mean, Texas has been a huge beneficiary, for example, of this new era. I think that Alabama, it's a little bit more complicated. And I think that they wanted to say more than anything else, look, we're trying to figure out some of the NIL stuff. We're trying to figure out some of the roster stuff. Certainly they're trying to figure out some of the on-field stuff in general. But Kalen DeBoer is our guy, and he's going to be the guy that we're going to ride through this. I think there's some comparison, to Steve Sarkisian when they were going into the SEC at Texas, where it's like, yeah, he went 5-7 year 1, but, like, we don't really care. We're sticking with him for now. And obviously you hope that he can continue, that Kalen DeBoer can build the way that Sark did. But I think they want to say, this is our guy.
Yeah, they want to pay him more money to leave in a couple of years. I mean, yeah, no, they want to say he's their guy.
And that's probably what will happen.
Oh, man. Shayan, great stuff. Really enjoy the work you do on CBS Sports. Thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully we get the chance to do this again down the line.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. There he goes. Shayan Jayaraja from CBS Sports, national college football writer. Make sure y'all follow him on Twitter. And, he's been all over the Brendon Sorsby story. It's a fascinating one with so many twists and turns, and it feels like we're just scratching the surface on what's going to come out with this guy.
Yeah, I just wondered how. I mean, if they gave you a check, BK, you and your agent, have you divvied out your agent's part to him? Does the agent have to give it back to you? Now you got to give it back to the school. I guess it's all depends on how it's written out and their contracts. So every contract's written out different. They don't have certain schools don't have a way that they do it. They just do it individually. These are individual contracts.
Yeah, there is no way that Texas Tech is paying Brendon Sorsby $5 million.
Yeah, no, that's given out over certain. I mean, that guy could get hurt, in game 1. They could say, well, we're not going to pay you $5 million. Or they may have a clause that says, nope, if you got hurt when you're in uniform, sorry, we got to pay it out. That's just the way they're written differently,
I don't know what the clauses are in each contract, and you're right. I mean, I'm sure they're all different, but there's got to be something that protects Texas Tech from this in there.
Yeah, I mean, people have clauses in contracts. You can't be a scumbag, and
right. You could be an a-hole. You can't be ineligible.
Right.
No, you can be a scumbag. Right. You just have to be eligible to play. I would
be an eligible scumbag.
Yeah, if you're ineligible, then sorry, you're not getting paid what we told you we'd pay you.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of clauses. These are individual contracts. These are individual people signing individual contracts. They're made out differently. There's not one set contract for everybody. Everybody's not getting $5 million, Oh,
I know. That's crazy.
And I got to believe there's some of it that you can't get back. That's not refundable, That guy's divvied out some of that money. Some of it you can't get back. I would want every cent back if I was on this for this dude.
That's amazing. Look, Cody Campbell can't afford it, so if he had to pay some of it, then I'm
Yes.
sure he paid it. But wow. We'll see where Tech goes. And last year, post spring portal, Texas Tech could be tampering with anybody they wanted. They could
Yes.
go to somebody at some school and say, "Hey, we'll pay you X mil if you hit the portal and transfer to Lubbock." They don't get to do that this year.
Well,
And I feel like
they just can't have anybody come play.
I feel like Jerry Seinfeld. That's a shame, eating my popcorn here. Such a shame for Texas Tech. I'm devastated that this is happening to them.
Wow.
Yeah, couldn't happen to a nicer fan base. Buck.
Man, oh, man.
All right, we'll take your thoughts. The Dakota text line 512-222-9328. We'll get to the BBK news here in a moment. Also, why today is not so bad. A lot to dive into there. Before we go any further, Buck, how about our final round of sponsor shout-outs?
So to our friends at Woods Comfort Systems, folks, the weather is changing back and forth. It's going to be, you got rain today, you got rain this weekend, but temperatures are going to dip. I don't know if the heater is going to come on. My wife says, no, we're leaving right where we are. We're not turning. There's not going to be any heat turned on here. So if it gets into the 50s and 60s, let me tell you, some folks may want a heater to come on. Well, if you had our good friends at Woods Comfort Systems come out, it would, and the proper heat would come on. And we know the proper air conditioning because they are fantastic when it comes to air conditioning systems. But if your heater turns on, you want it working properly. And the folks at Woods Comfort Systems, 70 years in Central Texas, they are the very best. Also, when it comes to plumbing now, if you have any plumbing problems, indoors or outdoors, please call on Woods Comfort Systems. They'll come out, their technicians will get everything fixed up. You don't have to worry about running upstairs or downstairs or getting under the sink and doing it. Just call on Woods Comfort Systems, folks. Nobody does it better.
No, they don't. WoodsComfortSystems.com or 512-842-5066. Are you a fan of drones, Buck?
I'd rather have a kite.
You'd rather have a kite?
Yes, I'd rather have a kite. I'd rather fly a kite than mess with drones. I was never good at those little model airplanes that you did, not the models that you put glue to, but the ones that you flew around with your little deal. I was never good with those. I crashed one of those into my house once.
Like the remote control?
Yeah, I wasn't good with the little dealie, no. But I was very good with kites. I was a good kite flyer. And that's why I'm very disappointed in myself. I'm never going down to the kite festival here.
Yeah, just had it a couple of weeks ago. You missed
your
chance.
Man. I used to be able to do that. I used to make them out of newspapers. I could do that back in the day.
You'd make a kite out of a newspaper?
Yeah, there have been people that made kites with newspaper, only little sticks and some of the little threads and stuff. I did that as a kid.
You could actually fly that outside?
Yes.
Huh. I don't even know.
And the Austin American Statesman, I mean, it's got a lot of paper to it.
Well, there's more value in a kite than the actual statesman these days, I think. So I need more kids doing that to help keep them in business. You know?
I'm not a drone guy. No.
Well, you're in the minority. I'm a drone guy. I love a drone show. I don't know how to use them. I don't really care to know how to use them, but I like watching them. I think they're really cool. And our friends at Qualis Roofing and Construction, they're drone guys.
Yes, so they are. They're not kite guys.
If you call the Buck roofers, you're going to have some guy flying a kite to inspect your roof.
Into the wires.
Yeah, it'll get stuck in the gutter somewhere. If you call Qualis, they're going to have drones actually come out and look at your roof. Now they'll have guys get up on the ladder and look at it too, but they've got the latest and greatest technology to inspect your roof to make sure that everything looks and works the way it's supposed to. And we've had some crazy storms. We're going to have some more crazy storms this weekend. If they are as crazy as they could be and your room takes a hit, call on my friends and our friends at Qualis Roofing and Construction. More than 700 5-star reviews online, A+ rated by the BBB. They do residential roofs. They do commercial roofs as well. So for your business owners out there, if something happens to your place or if you just want to get your roof inspected, call on Qualis. Don't forget, they are offering free Longhorn t-shirts if you get a free roof inspection. And if you need a full roof replacement, they're also going to hook you up with either a Traeger smoker or a Blackstone grill. Great people. They do the best work. All you have to do is reach out to them. No kites involved either. QualisGC.com. 512-257-0033.
Very nice. Yes. I mean, when people used to say, hey, why don't you get out of here and go fly a kite? I say, okay, where would you like for me to fly this kite? because I'd go fly myself a kite. I was a kite guy as a kid. That was one of my hobbies, was flying kites. Yeah, I was very interested in doing that. I'd take my dad's ties and use it as tails on the kite. It was great. Use my mom's stockings and stuff. That was fantastic. That was fun for a kid to go fly a kite, really.
I see why you didn't get invited to the prom.
Thank you very much. Hey, go fly a kite then, Buck. Yeah, I didn't get, yes. Very nice.
Like, I was
You
never
you were way past the.
No, I mean, I've flown a kite before. I just never found it intriguing or entertaining at all. No, like I also like, folks lived in Galveston for a long time. I spent a lot of time. Like, you always see people flying kites on the beach.
Sure, the beach, yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, look at the kite. It's like, it's literally just like moving within like a 5-foot radius doing absolutely nothing. Like, what's cool about that? And you're holding a kite like, all right, cool. Like I'm holding something. Well, now my hand hurts because I'm having to hold something that I don't want to hold. This isn't fun.
Yeah, it's very similar to, for you, that's like similar to the lady next door saying to me, oh, did you see the new baby goats? Aren't they cute? And I'm like, no, they smell like shit.
Well, the good news is kites don't smell like shit, and I guess they don't make a lot of noise. So I would take a kite over a neighbor having a baby goat.
And thinking that's interesting for me. Or 71-year-old man to see. Aren't they cute? No, they're not.
Just give me some. What do goats make? Milk?
Milk? Yes.
Do you want goat milk?
No, I don't.
I'm team cow on milk.
I've eaten, I think it's called cabrito. I've eaten goat. And it's okay. It tastes okay. I don't get a lot of it, but I don't drink foreign milks like goat and emu and stuff like that. I don't do their milk. I just do regular cow milk.
What about breast?
I've tasted it once. It wasn't all that good either. I don't know how I got to be a grown man from doing baby, when I was a baby. I don't know if babies really like it all that much.
I don't know. I see them sucking away all the time,
Yeah, they don't seem to stop, do they?
No, they don't seem to stop, so there must be something good there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Except for the one kid who was like 12 getting underneath his mom's poncho at the airport getting after it.
That wasn't his mom. That was just a random woman he found at the airport.
Oh no, that was his mother. Before they got on a flight, he was acting up, and that dude could run track at UT, and he's up underneath that poncho. I'm going, and you could hear him just going at it. I'm like, my goodness, when do you stop there, Mom? Shouldn't you have stopped, 7 years ago?
What's more of a surprise, a 12-year-old breastfeeding or a 12-year-old running track for the University of Texas? What's less likely to happen?
The breastfeeder?
I don't know. I've never seen a 12-year-old running track at Texas, so I guess it's more likely that they would be. Yeah,
because I got to the airport early because I had to at the Boston airport because me. I think it was the same flight that I got on with Ted Williams. It may have been the Ted Williams flight that I got. This all happened in one flight. I got to sit personally with Ted Williams in first class for a trip from Boston to Miami. And I think that's when I saw the kid wasn't 12. He was probably he could run. I mean, he wasn't a toddler. Let's just say that. He was T-ball age. And that seemed a little old,
it still feels old. It's not 12. I mean, if this
he was 7 or 8. He was about 7 underneath he was making all kinds of sounds and like, and next thing I knew, the mom put the poncho over him and you could hear the kid just getting after it. And I'm like, wow, Mom, you should have stopped this about 5 years ago, shouldn't you?
At that point, the mom just likes it.
That's what I was talking. BK, the first thing in my mind, disgusting mind was, I think this is more for Mom.
Yeah, she's just enjoying the feeling of that.
Oh my God.
Find somebody else to do that, not your own child.
That's sad.
At that point, call on me, Mom. I'm there for you.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Where were you? All right, why today's not so bad. What a story that was. By the way, tomorrow on the BBK News, one of the craziest stories that we've ever had on this show.
Ever.
It involves a high-ranking executive at JP Morgan. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
All you get. And it's a female executive, by the way.
Very nice.
Brace yourself for that. Why today's not so bad. National Raisin Day. You a raisin guy?
I like raisins. I'm okay with raisins. I like them in my oatmeal.
Okay. Well, it's National Oatmeal Cookie Day today.
Oh, you
too.
know I love an oatmeal cookie. Heck yeah.
National Bubble Tea Day. You ever had bubble tea before?
Bubble tea.
Bubble tea.
I got low teas.
Didn't ask, but thank you. Bubble
about
tea
bubble
is like
tea.
a tea-based drink that's made with milk, and they have like tapioca bowls that are like,
Oh, no, thank you.
dude, people love this stuff. It's disgusting. I don't know how people drink this. Like when you get a tea, you're like sipping these. They got like fat straws that you have to drink out of, so you get these little tapioca bowls. Nasty.
Oh, God.
People love it. Also, National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day. There you go.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just I'll keep that to myself. I've never done that. People get mad at me. I get these Great Pyrenees and I go pay for them out at some farm, but they said, you can go to a shelter and get yourself a dog.
You know what you
And
could say?
Yeah, well, and then I'd add, I don't want somebody else's problem.
You can mind your own business.
I did that with a kid. I adopted a kid. I said, I don't want anybody else's problem.
Right. I think if I ever got a dog, it'd be from a shelter, but I don't hold any animosity or ill will to anybody who, like, my family's adopted or gotten dogs from both. Yes. Some shelter dogs and some breeder dogs. It's like,
I'm good with it. I've never done it.
Yeah, it's up to you. It's your life.
Right.
I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life.
That's right.
Billy Joel. On this day in 1945, as Soviet troops closed in on his bunker in Berlin, the German dictator Adolf Hitler committed suicide alongside his wife, Eva Braun.
It's too bad they didn't get to hang that dude.
That's too bad they had to go so soon,
You know what? They should have hung him anyway after he shot himself.
They should have done worse than that.
Yeah, that's true. They should have doubled or tripled up on that dude.
Yeah, they should have. On this day in 1975, communist forces captured the capital of South Vietnam, effectively ending the Vietnam War. The fall of Saigon, April 30th, 1975. A lot of war moments. Also, the Louisiana Purchase happened on this day in 1803. It's a great deal right there. 15 mil. I mean, that's half of a George Pickens franchise tag, and we doubled.
Yeah, no kidding.
We doubled our country.
We got all that gumbo. Man.
Mm-hmm. On this day in 1993, the World Wide Web went public for the first time.
That's where it all started, huh?
That's where it all started. Pretty monumental day.
Yes, indeed.
Also in 1939, NBC inaugurated its regularly scheduled television service, launching regular TV for the first time.
A lot going on then.
A lot going on here. Real quick, birthdays. Travis Scott, 35. Kirsten Dunst, 44. Gal Gadot, she's hot, 41. Ana de Armas, she's hot, 38. Isaiah Thomas, is he hot, Buck?
No, what is he, 50 what?
65.
Damn.
He played a long time ago, sir. Born on this day now dead, Muddy Waters.
Muddy Waters, loved Muddy Waters.
Father of modern Chicago blues. Also, Ben E. King.
Benny King.
Other great artists. And that's all the people that I think I care about today. So that's all
lot.
we got.
You had a lot today. I can't wait till tomorrow to get that news.
Yeah.
From JP Morgan.
Why today's not so bad. Oh, yeah. Don't look it up. It's starting to blow up, so I'm worried your wife is going to be like, "Did you hear about?" Like, tell her no. I need BK to tell me it tomorrow. Yes, people need your natural reaction.
I'm not going to go search for it.
No, that I do know. Right there. But this is one of those that could find you. So if it does,
I won't let it find me.
Earmuffs. All right, that'll do it for a Thursday show. Thanks to Mike Taylor and Shayan Jayaraja for joining us. Most importantly, thanks to you.
Good job, man. Good job today, brother.
Likewise. We will talk to y'all on a Friday. Y'all have a great Thursday.
Welcome.